Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It's Dr. Jan Portman with Relationship Matters TV. I hope everyone is having a beautiful morning or evening. We are here in Chicago, and I'm looking out the window, and it's getting cloudy. Oh, and I hear thunder and there's a tornado watch. So hopefully it doesn't just knock us off the air. We're going to, so if you see me jump like, woo, you know, that was a big thunder claps and those clouds really look kind of ugly. But anyway, we're going to keep on going. So I, this has been a beautiful week. Weather has been 130, but it blanked for a minute. So we might blank out, hopefully not. I know one of my episodes, I had someone on and she was in Mexico and she was streaming and all of a sudden, bloop, I was by myself. But anyway, today on the show, I have Ms. Renita Dixon. And I've known her for a little while, but I didn't know all of the things that she did. She's one of those kind of people that does not toot her own horn. So, what I'm going to do is toot her horn for her before I bring her on. So, let me tell you a little Renita Dixon. She is a visionary professional with exemplary leadership, communication, and project management skills. She is a sustainability professional and she administers and maintains resource consumption and water recycling, which we're going to talk about. Water inventory. She manages greenhouse gas emissions inventory for over 50 countries. This girl is dynamite. Plus the fact, how do I know her? Whoa, thunder. How do I know her? She is a Toastmaster. She is an exemplary speaker. But anyway, I'm going to bring her on because, and I'm going to toot your horn, Renita, the whole time we're here.
Hello. I was thinking, wow, she sounds pretty interesting.
Hi, Renita.
Hello. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you. I'm also enjoying that loud thunder. So if you see me jump, it's the same reason.
Okay, all right. So let's, you know what? I didn't know that you. I know you as a Toastmaster and a dynamic speaker, but I didn't know all what you did. So, what is a sustainability professional?
Well, a sustainability professional can do quite a few things, but I'll start with what sustainability is. It's meeting the needs of today without compromising the needs of future generations. So, for example, let's say maybe you're a fisher. You don't want to overfish an area so that in the future there's no more fish for your people or your company to continue on in your business. So I work for a large company, and before I start, anything I say here is my personal opinion. It has no reflection on the company which I work for. So it's Renita, not them. And for the company I work for a very large manufacturing company. We are in over 50 countries. And for them, I look at how we're using energy, how we're generating waste, where we're doing it, and water. Also look at the cost for each of those things because we have, I'm sure you've heard of greenhouse gas emissions and climate change. We get a lot of inquiries from our customers and from the investment community because everyone wants to fight climate change. And if you're going to fight it, you got to know what you're fighting against. So you need to know where these emissions are coming from and most of them are coming from energy use for companies.
So, okay, so we're talking about gas emissions. So what about the cars and I know you talk about the companies and corporations, but what about us
Mhm.
as individuals? Does a
As
lot of that
individuals.
gas
Mhm.
emission, yeah, come from us?
Mhm. Yeah, a lot of it does come
Yeah.
from cars. I don't remember the percentage, but a large percentage it comes from our homes, buildings, and our cars. And living in the Midwest and other parts of the country and the world where it gets really cold, when we're heating our house with natural gas, that creates more greenhouse gas emissions. And for the electricity use, we create greenhouse gas emissions from that as well. So now you'll hear a lot of cities and countries saying that they are aiming to reduce their emissions to zero by 2050. And to do that, they're taking measures like switching from natural gas heating to heat pumps, taking heat from the ground and pumping it to warm your homes and your buildings, and also switching to electricity. I read somewhere that heat pumps can work here, but it gets really cold. So I don't know what we're going to do. I guess that's for the geniuses to figure out. And our cars, if you want to reduce your emissions, you can get a car that has better gas mileage or an electric car.
Now heat pumps. I've never heard of that. So that would be like going down, I guess, to the core of the earth and getting heat from there.
It's not going as far as the core, but it's pumping, usually pumping water down into the earth where it's warmer and recirculating it and taking the heat from that. And you can also use it from cooling because the soil, it has its own cycle. It's hot, then it gets cool, and you can always have that energy exchange between the air and the soil.
So are we doing anything like that in this country?
Yes. Our big push is for electrification and trying to increase the amount of ways that we can use electricity. But if we all get electric vehicles, we don't have ways to charge them. We have to have some sort of infrastructure set up where we can charge our cars and increase public I guess you would call it electric station instead of the gas station, and maybe even having combinations of the two.
Yeah, well, then you are thinking about, then you're talking about the oil industry. I would think that there would be a push against that, as
Hmm.
far as the oil industry is concerned. So that's probably a challenge with what you do.
It is, and it's become politicized because we have the push from some of the governing bodies in parts of the US. They want to get rid of it. They think it's distracting businesses from their focus. And a lot of it's because of the lobbying of the energy, the oil, and the gas industry. They want to survive.
Okay, okay. Yeah, we're what's happening where I am, I mean, good grief. It's raining like I don't know what, and lightning and thundering. So every now and then it our pictures go off. So I'm just letting people know that, yeah, woo, that's what's going on. It's really affecting the internet. So now let's talk about our carbon footprint. I hear a lot of what that.
Okay, we're breaking up a little bit. I think you asked me what a carbon footprint is. Okay, so that's your greenhouse
Yeah,
gas emissions. Yeah, if you think about it, if you wanted to calculate your
that's the
personal
same thing.
carbon footprint, yeah, it's the same thing. Hmm. So, greenhouse gases,
Oh,
they're made of
so
carbon dioxide. Hmm.
okay.
Should I
So,
continue?
well, let me go. here too. This question before I ask my question about carbon footprint, and so I was trying to bring it up. There it is. When you talked about, can you see that?
Jacqueline Rogers' question, is our grid up
Yeah,
to that? Yes. Our grid is
yeah.
being improved so that it can be up to that. There's been a lot of debate and talk for many years about improving the grid here.
Okay, so so we're here in Chicago. Are we improving the grid? And what is the grid?
I'll tell
I'm
you
a
what the
what
grid
is the grid?
the grid is how our electricity is getting produced and sent to us. But you all have to remember, I don't work for ComEd. They will tell you better information than I can about what's going on with our grid because I haven't been tracking it.
Okay, so it's how we get our electricity.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and okay. So where do we get it from? The sun?
We have some solar. Hey, if you guys have an electric bill, if you take it out, you can look at, sometimes it's on the back of your bill, they'll give you the breakdown of where your electricity is coming from. We have some nuclear in it,
Oh,
some solar. I don't know if we get much wind, but I think there might be some wind, and a lot of it's from coal and natural gas. It's going to vary depending on where you live, because if you think about it, if you're driving around in Zion, Illinois, you can see where the nuclear electricity is being produced, and also down in where that outlet mall is in Michigan City, there's some nuclear reactors there as well. So the electricity mix varies depending on where you are.
okay. So how did why did you decide to go into this particular field?
I was an engineer, and a lot of people don't tell you this about the engineering field. It You reach your limit pretty quickly on what you can do in a field. There's not a lot of growth in it, but the benefit of being an engineer is you can go in a lot of different directions. So I wanted to move up higher in the company. I wanted to have more career options, so I went to school for business. But MBA has kind of come a dime a dozen. So I wanted something that would set me apart, and I wanted something that spoke to what matters to me. People matter to me, and the environment matters to me. So I came across the concentration in sustainable enterprise, which looks at how a business interacts with the environment and the communities. And that's how I ended up in this field.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay. So did you have to take classes or, you know, special training for this?
Mhm. I took classes. I took a lot of business classes, but I also took some classes on environmental law and environmental environmental ecology, and also there are a couple of combination courses where you talk about, like the capstone course was analyzing business strategy, but including environmental and social impacts in it. So instead of just looking at the financial bottom line, you look at what's called the triple bottom line. So you have people, planet, or profits. So a traditional business course, you tend to focus on the profits and maybe the people in your organization and your customers, but you don't think about the inputs and how you're contributing to that particular community. Because, like, say for example, you wanted to open up a business in one of the areas of Chicago, you should consider how your business affects them. For example, are you bringing a lot of trucks into the area? Are you increasing the noise level? Are you increasing the pollution? Are you polluting the water? These are the things that you think about when you're looking at the whole business impact. Are you taking out a lot of trees? Are you affecting any species that could be endangered? So it takes traditional business and it just expands how you look at it.
Okay. Couldn't make a comment, and she said it's fascinating to hear the view of MBAs as a dime a dozen.
Well, I hope I don't offend any other MBAs,
So,
but
so a question came in, a text came in. It says, "What will it take for those in the coal industry to accept the fact that coal use will someday be eliminated?"
you're asking me about a mindset shift, huh? I don't know what it's going to take for them to accept that the ship is sailing in a different direction and maybe you should switch to something different. It's going to take some changes of some minds and hearts, really, and maybe some consumer pressure.
Okay, okay, okay. So now, water recycling. How do you recycle water? What is that?
You can. Well, it's water and recycling, but to recycle water, all of our water is recycled. All of it is. Once we pour water down the drain or flush it down the toilet, it goes to the sewage treatment plant. Well, it goes to the sewer first. Then it gets cleaned up at a treatment facility. It goes in looking black and icky and it smells terrible, of course. Then once they clean it through either different types of processes, they can use different enzymes, different types of osmosis. They can filter it. They probably do all those things. And once it leaves, it's nice and clean and it goes back to the lake. Then it comes right back into our faucets. So that's wide scale recycling.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay, all right. So now, on your end, is there a water shortage?
There is, we have water stress here in the Midwest. We have the largest amounts of fresh water in the Great Lakes, but there is a lot of people pulling from that water. We have homes, businesses, and we're also putting things back into that water that makes it, it's not the best thing for the water and for us as people. So it's not really a shortage, but we should be careful in how we use it, because just because it's there doesn't mean it's good quality, doesn't mean it's safe, and it has to be cleaned before we can consume it. So even though we don't have a shortage here, there are parts of the country and other parts of the world where there are water shortages. So water is a local issue.
And
It really
so,
depends on where
okay,
you
so, oh, really?
are.
So, okay, so so now, you do things in a different so, so I read something. It says something about water inventories. So, what is that? Is that like how much water is available? Is that what that
Hmm.
is?
So I look at how much
And you said, go ahead.
I look at the water that we would draw from different locations, and I compare that to databases on what that watershed looks like in those different regions. So, for example, you mentioned Mexico earlier. We do have some operations in Mexico. Well, the company I work for does. So I look at how much water we're drawing from our plants, and I'll go to the database from the Water Resources Institute, and I'll look in that region and look at graphs of how that the water stress is now, how it is expected to be 10 years out, and maybe another 20 years out, and communicate with the business and tell them these are the risks that you need to consider as you plan your business going forward in this area.
Okay, so do you have a lot of success? Does your company have a lot of success with different businesses, as far as being aware, and not only, well, not being aware, but being concerned and, following these guidelines?
Yes, I would say we do have success. And another thing too, it's legally required that you monitor your water consumption in certain places, and also your water quality is very important.
Okay, so now I'm gonna ask this question too. So when every now and then, as a homeowner, you get these statements, and It tells you all what's in your water. So now, is that something that is a part of what you do? I mean, as far as measuring and watching all the different, I guess whatever it is, compound, because whatever it is that's in the water, because sometimes you look at it and it might say something like it's oxygen so is that something under your purview also?
It is
In other
not.
words, there are certain amounts of different chemicals.
Mhm.
No?
No, that I don't
Okay.
do that. Someone at the plant level handles that. But as someone who gets one of those statements, I tend to read it and wonder, well, why is this in the water? Just as a homeowner.
Okay. Okay. So, Renita, I read something about the fact that Americans eat a lot of meat, that has a lot to do with carbon emissions. Is that true?
That's what I've heard too, because of the methane that comes out of the animals when they pass gas. Methane is a greenhouse gas and it's more intense than CO2. So yeah, they do contribute to climate change.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So it would so it would help on a personal level if we are concerned with climate change that we can do certain things on a personal level that would reduce climate change and carbon emissions. In other words, if I cut down on eating meat, would that help
That would
in
help
your
a little
opinion?
bit. In my opinion, I think that that would help to reduce your carbon footprint and it also help your health a little bit too.
Okay, all right. So, what do you do on a personal level to because I know that you are very concerned about environment, which is why you're in the career that you're in. So, what do you do personally?
Personally, I drive a hybrid. I don't have a garage, so I can't buy an electric car. I have no place to plug it in. I tend to be very conservative with my energy use. I barely turn on the lights during the day because I got a lot of sunlight naturally. And I don't blast the heat all day and all night. That helps too. It also saves you a little bit of money. And I eat a predominantly plant-based diet. I wash my clothes in mostly cold water, but every now and then, you need to have some hot water because you're working out. Those clothes get a little unfresh. And those are
Hmm.
things I do on a daily basis.
And so those are some of the things that we can do also
Yes,
to
and
to
recycle.
uh, to help our.
Hmm.
Okay, so you
Yep,
recycle.
I recycle.
So
And
what do
another
you
thing that
recycle?
what do I recycle? I recycle all my paper. Well, not the stuff that you need to shred, but the junk mail, the magazines, all those things get recycled. Cans, bottles. I don't use a lot of plastic bottles. I tend to carry a water bottle. That's another thing we can do because plastic waste is an issue. I compost my food waste. So if you have a home, you can get a tumbler or another way to compost it and you can use it in your garden. And that it's amazing how little trash I actually throw out because I compost the food waste and I recycle everything else. I only have a little bit of trash.
And so composting, what is that?
That's when you put all of your food scraps into a container and it starts to break down, it decays, and it doesn't stink. If it starts to smell bad, it's because you need to have a better mix. You put in paper too, like your used paper towels. So that's your brown, your old vegetables and fruit scraps and peels, though that's your green. So you want to have a nice ratio of brown and green. And over time, it doesn't really take that long. It starts to decompose, and it looks like it's like you're making dirt when it's all done. It looks just like dirt. And you can put it in your plants. It's nutrient rich and it's nutritious for your plants. So if you're a gardener, you can dump that in there, and you can take your vegetable scraps and you have your own little cycle.
Oh, okay. Well, Jacqueline wants to know, do you have a garden?
I have a container garden. So I grow tomatoes and I tried some potatoes once. They came out pretty good. They were small. And this year I'm looking forward to trying potatoes and onions this year, and of course some tomatoes and maybe salad. Throw some salad in the window sills. Well, lettuce, different types of lettuce.
A garden. So what do you mean? It's in house? What
In the
what
yard. In the yard.
what is that?
Outside. In pots and
You
flower
call
pots.
it garden?
Container. Container
I'm
gardening.
interested.
Uh-huh. Uh-oh. Janice, I cannot hear you if you're talking.
Wow. I okay.
I can hear you
Oh
now if
wow.
you're talking.
We picked a good
Okay.
night. Oh, I want. Can you hear? Oh, okay. Cause okay, yeah. Well, at least we're not gonna have a tornado. I see maybe some blue skies trying to come. So no. So when you said a container garden, I was interested in what
Mhm.
a container garden is, rather than just a garden.
Oh, you grow your plants in pots. So instead of growing them in the ground, you just use pots.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So that answers your question, Jacqueline. And Sarah Crawley had made a comment, and I think that's when we were talking about people who are in the coal industry, and she said that she read that they are being groomed for other careers. So yes, she had put that comment in. It came in late because of the storm.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, and yeah, right. So when we come back, I have to make a couple of commercials. But when we come back, I want to talk to you about what else you do, because I see some things on here that I think is very, very, very interesting, and something else that you do in with your uh, it's fascinating, because I want to ask you. I'm going to ask you this before we go. When you said you were an engineer, what kind of engineer were you?
I had a background in mechanical engineering, and I was a design engineer for about 10 years. I designed gears for military, aerospace, a couple of recreational items. And then I went on to be a project engineer where I worked on automotive parts. So it's mainly headlight adjusters. And I didn't like that so much. I like the first one better.
So recreational gears.
Fishing reels. Yeah, I did some fishing reels. That was kind of fun. And also one of my last projects in
Really?
that role, yeah, I did robotics. So if you see those little robots, like the police robots that go in and scope out a location before they send in people, that was one of my last projects. I did some gears for one of those, and also was looking at one for military use, but unarmed robots.
Oh, so you can make a robot.
I can make you gears for a robot.
Okay. Oh
Mhm,
wow, very interesting.
mhm.
Okay, so I'm gonna come back and a little bit more about some of the things that you are involved in. Okay,
Okay. All right.
all right. So we will be right back if this storm lets us come back. But now, don't go away. I just need to talk to you just a few things that you need to know about. Now, the first one I want to talk to you about is the legacy of hope. And the legacy of hope is a mission trip. So let me see if I can find it. Hopefully, I can find it because this storm is really messing with my computer. Oh dear. Well, anyway, I'll show you some of the things. Okay. I can't really find the commercial. It's kind of like messing around. But anyway, and hopefully this will come up. The Legacy of Hope. It's the Legacy of Hope tour to Romania. And what it is doing, it's a mission trip to highlight what's going on in Romania as far as children are concerned. And what's happening is that it's a group going from all over the world, and they also are doing a GoFundMe. What they're doing is they're having children here to write letters and be pen pals to children who are suffering from abuse. They're homeless, and it is a tour. It is a legacy of hope to give hope to the children in Romania. And that is, if you're interested in donating, you can either take your phone and you can scan the QR code or the flow code, as some people call it, and or you can just go and you can donate. You can go to GoFundMe, and that's running along the bottom. I think their goal is about $10,000. They're taking backpacks. They're taking all kinds of things for children to help the children in Romania. So that's if you go to GoFundMe and just click on this particular link, you can donate. It will be appreciated. So let's see, will this let me do this? This is really something. Okay. I was on Zoom this morning, and we were doing the same thing, just going in and out, in and out, and in and out. Now, let's talk a little bit about me. At 1 p.m. Standard Time, I will be appearing on the spotlights on your podcast with Dr. Patricia Rogers. And if you would like to tune in as I talk about relationships, especially the adult daughter aging mother relationship, you can click on the Facebook page. You can click on my Facebook page, or you can go to Dr. Patricia Rogers or LinkedIn. So this is a challenge. Okay, now I need to do another, and I hope that this comes across. so the other commercial wouldn't play. So, well, we're going to just move right on ahead, and we're not going to worry about this storm. It seems like it's trying to clear up a little bit. So hopefully that, hopefully our reception will be now. Renita, I see here on your bio that you also create opportunities, productivity, increase profitability, and engage employees. And you took charge of leading the annual corporate social responsibility reporting team, which resulted in producing ITWs, which I don't know what that is, first and subsequent CSR reports. Now, what is all of that?
Well, that is mainly, well, ITW is the company I work for, is Illinois Tool Works,
Oh,
and
okay.
the CSR is the Corporate Social Responsibility Report. So pretty much, I tell stories with numbers. That's in the nutshell. So we look at the communities in which we operate, how we contribute. ITW is a big philanthropic company, and it started here in the Chicagoland area. We're headquartered in Glenview, and a lot of the contributions are done here in Chicago. There's a charter school that focuses on STEM education, and they have a really high graduation rate. The majority of the students go to college. And so those are some of the things that the company is proud of. And I help making sure that the team comes together and has that report done each year. It's a big undertaking and it takes a lot of time. And that's why I disappear in March.
Oh, okay. So do
Mhm.
you get a chance to go into the schools yourself?
Well, we do a day of service once a year at least, and I'll be going to that in June. And we'll also have an intern coming in from the school. This will be the first time that I've worked with a high schooler. We typically have college interns, so this would be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, great, great, great.
Mhm.
So now you touched a little bit on something that I want to really ask you about.
Mhm.
You invented a custom headlight headlight adjusting solution. What is that?
Every headlight in a car has to be adjusted. So it's adjusted before you get the car. And if you go out and you have a wreck and you replace that headlight, that has to be adjusted too. You change the bulb, it needs to be adjusted again so that your car is not cockeyed. So there's always a way to adjust those headlights.
So when you say adjusting, um, that's not inner inside the headlight. That's just like how the headlights look, on
Yeah.
the front of the car. Is that what you're talking
Yeah.
about?
So the little bulb part,
Oh,
the beam has to be adjusted so that it's not this way or that way. You want your lights to be straight ahead. But that was many years ago.
and so yeah, well, yeah. So you are an inventor also.
Co-inventor. We applied for a patent. We didn't get it, but we tried.
Okay, was this on your own or was this with a company? Is this something that you partnered with someone with? You thought of,
This was
how did that go?
with the company. This was with the company. Yeah, this was yeah, this
Okay.
was my second engineering job, and that was part of what I did. But they were really big about how can we get patents. So we were always taking things and trying to find new ways to turn. We even took a pump out of a lotion bottle and trying to figure out how can we turn this into a headlight adjuster. Because one of the ways to stay,
Really?
to stay Because if you're making something as simple as that or a screw, you want to maximize how much money you can get out of it. So you want to come up with a unique solution. And that was the big focus. If you can find something that can be patented, that was a winner.
Okay. So, Gwendolyn Dunbar asked this question: how do you think you can get more young minorities interested in this career choice? Because actually, when you think about Renita, I did not know there was such a thing. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's a sustainability professional. So how can what do you think we can do to get more young minorities in this career?
We have to talk about it. They need exposure because you tend to gravitate towards careers that you're familiar with. You have a lot of police officers, teachers, and of course, athletes and actors and actresses, but no one talks about jobs like the engineers or the sustainability people. So it starts with just having more exposure. I'm available for career day. I like getting out to talk to the youth.
Okay,
Mhm.
that would be great. We talk about the environment, but really about careers and the environment. Sarah, and bring it up. Okay. Do you have CO2 emissions from different communities in Chicago?
I do not, but you can check the US EPA website and they have a section on environmental justice. You can put in your zip code and you can see all of the different pollutants and air quality by day that's going on in that area. So the US EPA has a nice
Okay.
amount of information for
So,
us.
okay. So this is a question I'm going to ask, and I know this is your opinion. According to different communities within a city, do you think that low income communities produce more carbon emissions than, say, upscale communities, in your opinion?
In my opinion, I would say no. And the reason I say that is typically when you have more
Okay.
money, well, when you have more money, you tend to be a little bit more loose with how you use your resources. Growing up on the south side of Chicago, I don't know about you, but if I heard turn off that light less than 15 times a day, it would be a miracle. We tend to be a little bit more conservative because we have to watch our dollars. When you don't have that kind of money, you're not opening the windows with the heat on. You're not running heat and the air conditioner and the fireplace going at the same time. So those things will help to reduce your emissions. I think that one of the things we do have a disparity on is maybe money to do some of the projects that would help insulate our homes better, money to fund if you wanted to put some solar panels on your roof. Well, there are different opportunities and different programs that will help you with that. I think those are the things that may make the most difference. And also, if you have an older car, you're going to have more emissions than someone who has a newer car, which is more fuel efficient.
Okay. All right. Okay. So, when you're not being a sustainability professional, what else do you do?
I've been learning how to swim, and I tried a lot of different times. I've been back and forth to the park district, the YMCA, and I just kept sinking like a rock. So I tried something different. I remember hearing about this nun who was, I think she was 52, 53 years old, and she was overweight and she wasn't doing anything. She was lazy. And she ended up being this Ironman triathlete. She's like 92 now and has done 45 of them. So it just planted this little seed of triathlon. And one of my coworkers knew that I wanted to learn how to swim. So she goes, I want to send you this email. And it was from an organization called Together We Try. And they were doing a 12-week triathlon training program. And I just reached out to them to see if I could learn how to swim through them. So I ended up training for a triathlon. And last week, I had a first indoor triathlon. And I'm not a strong swimmer, but I've learned. And if someone pushes me in the pool, I think we'll have to add boxing to that because I'm not ready to be pushed in a pool. And also, I do, let's see, of course,
Okay.
Toastmaster
Okay.
and Toastmasters, and
Yes.
occasionally I
Yes.
teach
You're an
yoga.
excellent, excellent.
Thank you.
Oh,
And
you
every now and
teach
then,
yoga?
occasionally, I got
Oh,
a lot of stuff on my plate right now. But when the weather is good, I'll do a class out in the park and learning the
oh.
guitar. Mhm.
We'll learn. Okay. Wow. There are many layers to Renita. Okay, there's a question from Sandy Barney Ennis. She says, aren't the STEM schools to expose students to engineering?
Yes, that's what the E is for: science, technology, engineering, and math. They are.
Okay. All righty. Okay, and a question came in from a text. Okay. How much time do, and this is your opinion, how much time do we have as a world to correct our emission problems before we themselves?
You all have the most interesting questions. Some say until 2030. Some say that if we don't do it tomorrow, we're doomed. And some say 2050. But you know how the planet is. The planet will be fine.
What do
We'll
you
just have
think?
some really, we'll have
What do
some
you
hard
think?
time. Renita, my personal opinion is I don't know. I think that I don't honestly, I think we don't like change, and I don't think we're going to make the necessary changes unless we're forced to. We're very comfortable with our way of life, and we don't want to give it up. I think that the planet, it always restores. If you think about when we went home and went on shutdown, water started to clear up, animals you hadn't seen started to come back. The planet's going to be fine without us. Mother Nature does not need us. We're going to have some rough times, even with just the difficulty we have with just a little bit of the storm we had today. But we talk about water a little bit earlier. Some places are getting way too much water. Some places are getting absolutely no rain at all and are drying out. These are the things that are going to continue to happen if we don't do some things different. There are parts of the world where they're just they're below sea level, well, low, close to being below sea level. And the projections are that the sea is going to keep rising, and some of these small islands with indigenous people are going to disappear. A lot of people's ways of life is threatened. And if you really look at the source of the problem, who's got the biggest contribution to greenhouse gas emissions? It's the US, China, it's us. And if we don't do something different, then the rest of the world pays right along with us.
Yeah, I saw a special on television the other day, and it was about Sudan and how they, I think 5 years strong, there's been a drought, and then no, not a drought, overabundance of rain, and so and then drought. Their environment and economy is just horrible, and so now it's so much water. There's their rainy season that where they live, they're on little islands, and of their source income is gone, and it's all because of the environment, because things have shifted. So in other words, instead of a drought, they're having an overabundance of rain, and
Hmm.
they're starving.
Yeah.
And so like you say, some areas are dry, and some areas are too wet. And personally, I think it's like we need to do something post haste. But I don't think the United States is going to do anything until we, like you say, we're forced to do it. Now, Joel
Mhm.
Rogers has an opinion here says is that AI is going to force us to change. Maybe,
Maybe.
Jackie. Maybe, Jacqueline. Maybe. So, Renita, if you could say anything to the audience here, as far as see and what you know about what advice would you give us as individuals where we can contribute? I know we said a few things that we can do, but our minds and all, how do you think, or what do you think we can say and do to contribute to sustainability and to really to get the word out that we need to save our planet?
Mhm. Well, again, I would say start at home with the basics. Conserve your energy. Don't waste it. Conserve your water. Also, just be mindful of how you use water because even that it doesn't get here without being pumped. So there's energy that's increasing the emissions with that. Some of the things that we don't think about is shopping. Do you really need to get that $5 item from Amazon? Can you hold off on it? Can you pick it so it's packed and everything's coming in one shipment? And also be careful with the fast fashion. Increase the quality of what you're buying so you don't have to buy so much. That helps too. Those things do contribute to conserving the environment. And I would also say definitely eat more plants. They're good for you. They make you feel better. And let's see, we can walk a little bit more too. That doesn't hurt. Good exercise. I think that would be my easy steps for everyone. And recycle some of those things. If it's almost Earth Day, so check your local municipality and see if they have any events where you can get rid of some of the things that maybe you would have thrown in the trash. Maybe they have some recycling centers opening up or taking some special collections this upcoming weekend.
Okay, all righty.
Oh, and can I add one more
Well,
thing?
we're going to all those things.
Um, Check with your policymakers and see what they stand for. If you want to fight for improving our chances of not succumbing to climate change, watch what they're voting for. Because if they're voting to, hey, let's just dig out more coal, then maybe that's something you personally oppose. And if you do, then work with them to share your opinion about, hey, this isn't something I support. And I want to have more solar.
Okay, all righty. Well, thank you so much, Rita, for being a guest with and I might have to have you back because some of the things you were saying was cut off, and because of the storm. It's very, very interesting, and I think I wanted to have you on because I think we all should really be aware of what's going on in our environment and what we can do ourselves to make a positive our environment than a negative impact. So I really want to thank you. And maybe during the summer, if you have time, you can teach me a little yoga.
All right, I'll do that. And thank you for having me.
All righty. So you have a beautiful, blessed evening. Don't go outside because you will get drenched or maybe blown away. All right. Thank you so much, Renita. You have a good
Thank you.
rest of your evening.
You too. Good night, everyone.
All righty. Bye bye. Well, it's very, very, very interesting. as I said, I've known Renita for a little while, and I was very surprised when I read her bio, and I thought, oh my gosh, I didn't know you did all that. So I thought that that was, really very interesting, and it's something that we really should think about. I am going to think about what I can do as far as ordering things from Amazon and not having and waiting and they can all come into to one container. That's something I'm going to do. So I hope that you have received some information that's valuable to you this evening. And tune in for next week. I'm going to have another guest on. Her name is Carol Pilkington. And I will put in on my Facebook page and LinkedIn pages what she's going to talk about. And Jacqueline Rogers, I am so glad you mentioned AI because I am going to have an AI specialist on my show in the near future. And we're going to talk about AI, artificial intelligence, where we are going. Is it going to be another Matrix? If you ever watched The Matrix or virtual reality, are we going to be living in virtual reality? And I have discovered AI myself, and it's fascinating, but it's scary also. So I hope that again that everyone got something out of the guest today, and cycle. Watch your carbon emission and be blessed. So I will see you again next week with Relationship Matters. Remember, there are all kinds of relationships, and there are all kinds of relationship matters. See you again next week. Bye bye.